Boys, we have done it. The UFC has announced that the pay-per-view model is no longer come 2026. Gone are the days where we have got to find a stream to watch our fights. We have one, fellas. We're going to break down this tweet and what it means for the UFC fans and the athletes potentially, because he did make sure to mention athletes specifically in this post, and we'll break down what we think that means in this video. I'm sure everybody's already heard the news today, but we're going to chat about the historic news that just broke just a couple hours ago. Dana White's been reposting it all over social media, so pretty confident in saying that this one is not a rumor. But boys, the days of having to scrounge for a link that actually works are soon coming to an end. I can't believe the day has come. The pay-per-view wall is finally gone. No longer are we going to have to make the choice if we've got... Because I know we've all been there before, okay? Because let's get one thing straight. 90% of the MMA community that watches these fights every single weekend do not pay for the pay-per-views. And we haven't in years. Because we're already paying $120 a year or something crazy like that for ESPN Plus, right? And then you want us to pay an additional $80 a month to view 5 fights that, let's be honest, over the last year, our pay-per-views have been terrible. Comparatively to like 2023, 2022, those were incredible years. But no longer are we going to have to do that. And it's about time. The fan experience was really starting to be impacted by the egregiousness of ESPN / I'm pretty sure that Dana White said multiple times that they don't control the price of the pay-per-view, which I'm not sure how fucking true that is, knowing Dana White and how easy it is for him to just tell a little white lie like that. But he allegedly says that ESPN was the one that has control over the price point of the pay-per-view. And if that's the case, then ESPN is an absolutely dog shit platform, trying to charge people $80 per month in addition to the already pretty high for what you get fee. Now, here's the question, because the other thing is that for as large of a corporation and as big of a streaming service and as big of a player that ESPN is in the game, there were still a myriad of issues, right? Like there would be times where the stream went down on like the ESPN stream, if you were even watching it legally, right? So there were times where you'd pay all this money and then your stream would go down. Is that going to happen with Paramount and CBS? Don't know. They're pretty vague right now about what all this is going to look like. I'm assuming that, you know, we'll pay the $12.99 or whatever the fuck it is for Paramount Plus. So it's going to be comparatively a little bit more, I think, a month than ESPN Plus was. But without the paywall, and the way that they've made it sound is that, like, maybe UFC Fight Pass is going away as well. So with the $12.99 a month, you get access to the full archive of fights. Not quite sure. But is this going to be strictly on the Paramount platform? If you have cable, because it says the exposure provide. Let's just read this. This historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. That is questionable. We'll see how that goes. For the first time ever, fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model, making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. This deal puts UFC amongst the biggest sports in the world. The exposure provided by Paramount and CBS networks under this new structure is a huge win for our athletes and anyone who watches and loves this sport. Great. So it all sounds really great and cushy right now, but we need to know what the actual specifics are going to be, right? If you have cable, because cable's expensive these days too. Like if you want more than just like the network channels, like you're paying 150 plus bucks a month. So are cable users going to get access like it used to be in the old days on Spike TV, where 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern time rolls around? Can you go to channel 23 or whatever CBS is now and view the fights just like you would on Paramount Plus? I think it's safe to say that there's going to be a similar fan experience or user experience on the Paramount Plus app that we had on the ESPN app. Again, I hope that their streaming quality is better. I hope we don't have as many crashes. But with a deal this large, there's bound to be some issues, especially in the beginning. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they roll this out, they don't like exactly how it is, and maybe they change it a little bit. Who knows? Like, when's the last time that the UFC didn't have ESPN? I'm trying to remember. It's probably been close to a decade, right? Been a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like. Now, I think the biggest question is, what is this second part of this sentence here for our fans and our athletes? So we all knew, it's no secret, that UFC athletes, when they're not the cream of the crop, when they're not the stars that the UFC is pushing, and they're not a champ that's getting pay-per-view points, you know, I think guys that come in on their first 3-fight contract are getting like 12-12 or 15-15, right? 15 to win, or 15 to show, 15 to win. And then obviously you have a chance to win a third paycheck with a performance bonus. But how is this going to change the structure of how athletes are paid? How are these big superstars and how are these big draws, like how are they going to change the structure of how these athletes are paid? They're going to, obviously. There's no more pay-per-view, no more pay-per-view points. They don't have that metric to see, oh, okay, that when we put this person on a pay-per-view, buys are outrageously more than they normally are, right? So there's a lot of questions, at least for me, regarding like how are they going to approach this? Because to me, either that last part of that sentence is just him blowing smoke up our asses, or they're actually going, I mean, because they do have to. Like, that's a fact. They have to rethink their strategy of how they pay their champions, how they pay their Sean O'Malley's, their Israel Adesanya's, their, you know, Ian Gary's, your insert whatever, you know, big star in the UFC has, right? Like, those guys are getting paid way fucking more than, you know, like a Roman Dolidze that walks in there, right? So I'm hopeful that he's not just blowing smoke up our ass, and we're going to get fighters that are actually being incentivized to perform well. I think that you'll see a lot more fighters take this shit way more seriously if they start getting paid for what they truly should. And I'm not going to go on a side rant here of, oh, athlete pay this, athlete pay that. I understand that, you know, they're running a business, and you can't afford to pay every fighter on the card or every fighter on the roster. You can't afford to pay them $100,000 a fight, right? Like, you can't afford to bring everyone in at $50,000 to show, $50,000 to win. That's just not how this works. They would be bankrupt. They would end up just like the PFL. They would end up just like Bellator, right? So I understand there is a certain level of validity to what Dana White has said, to where, like, we take care of our fighters. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that they do that we don't necessarily see, but I understand both sides, because from a business perspective, there's a long-term goal of keeping this ship afloat for the foreseeable future, right? And you can't do that if you're just handing out money to people that you don't know if there's going to be a return on investment. Like, imagine if they would have thrown $50K to show, $50K to win to a guy like JP Buys. You would have just wasted $250,000 on a guy that literally didn't do shit. He got embarrassed in multiple fights. He's a scrub, right? So maybe there's a new structure of, okay, if they win their first 3, then they get a way bigger jump, right? But it'll be very interesting. I'm sure that fighters, once 2026 rolls over and this change happens, I'm sure that we'll get like podcasts or YouTube videos of fighters kind of talking a little bit more of how they're paid now. Because that's the nice thing about the way that social media has kind of changed pay transparency, is like there's no hiding it, and you can't control whether, unless there's NDAs, which I really don't think there is, because some athletic commissions require them to disclose that. Like, if y'all remember correctly, I think it's New York or LA, maybe California, one of those states, like, they always release the purses on social media, not the UFC, but it's always released. So it'll come out at some point, and I'll be very interested to see what that looks like. But all in all, like, this is an extremely good thing for MMA. It gets more eyes on the sport. Like, if you have someone that's a big casual, or someone that it really doesn't even know about the sport, they're just wanting to tune in for the first time. Imagine they tune in for the first time at UFC 300, and this change has already happened, right? You have some John Doe who's really never seen an MMA UFC fight ever in his life. He turns on UFC 300 on CBS because he's got cable, and all of a sudden he watches the Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje fight, and he's hooked for life, right? Whereas maybe that same guy sits down when it's on ESPN Plus and goes, well, fuck, I don't have anything to do. Let's see if I heard there's fights on tonight. Oh, they're $80? Fuck no. I don't even know if I like this sport. So in that sense, it's great. There's going to get a lot more eyeballs on the sport. It's become a little bit more mainstream. Give us some more casuals to talk shit to online, right? It's great for everybody. So overall, super big win for the MMA community. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.